Hello and welcome to Pandaria. We are in the Cassingar Wilds currently because I am going to do a quick brief video kind of thing about how I think the garrisons will end up turning out. Why am I in Pandaria? Well, because this is honestly probably one of the easiest spots. Here is the location where the Alliance landed for the invasion type thing when the Alliance came in. The Horde came in over on the other side. I probably won't fly over there since I don't have a Horde character, so there's not much of a reason. I might afterwards just to get people to be able to see it. But this here's pretty much what this area started at, or was like right at the start of patch 5.1, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was 5.1. 5.2 is when Throne of Thunder came out, so it had to have been 5.1. So 5.1, this looked like this. You had a quest which sent you here to do a bunch of stuff. It was part of like the Black Prince quest chain and so on and so forth. And you had to do some PvP type stuff that was PvE, but it was about the same. So anyways, this here's what it looked like. So pretty much imagine this here is a random location in Nagrand or in the Tazan jungle or whatever, one of those places. This here's what it looks like. You have this area, it's got a couple trees, nothing really too extravagant. It's just, a normal looking place. But later on, you're like, hey, I want to build my whole event thing here. Well, or your garrison here. Well, why would it continue to look like this, right? Well, they said it builds up and builds up and builds up, and honestly, I figured the reason why this here's one of the better places to go is because once you finish that quest line, it goes from looking like this, where I'll zoom out here real quick, fly up here. It goes from looking like this whole area right here. I mean, I doubt the garrison's going to be this large of a section for you. It'd be a pretty decent sized section. But it'll go from looking like this to looking like something more along the lines of this. Where, yes, this here technically is not finished. And I mean, you do have the Horde Tower and stuff right there. But for the most part, you get the kind of thing. It's like if there was a port city that you can build, you'd probably end up having a port that looks kind of like this. You have a mage tower, you have your keep, and then when we fly in here, you'd get to kind of probably what it would look more like stage 1. You'd have like little tents, little blacksmith, stuff like that, and then later on you would build more bigger buildings where, you'd have your thing like your keep, and then your town hall, and all that kind of stuff, mage tower, blacksmith, and all that stuff. I mean, this here is kind of a rough sketch kind of thing. I'm thinking this here's where they got their whole idea, where you're going to come in and kind of maybe do some slight terraforming, just modifying the land a little bit, adding roads, stuff like that, building up your own buildings and, stuff along those lines. Doubt you'll get into, the reason why I said it before, I doubt it'd be real big, is, I mean, you might end up having some sort of graveyard thing like that, but you won't have all this kind of stuff that's like out here, where it's just, hey, you modified out here. Well, no, this type of stuff wouldn't be part of your garrison. It'd be more of along the lines of, it would go from looking like an empty beach to a nice pier or something, or actually going over to the Horde side real quick would probably be a good thing, because then you'd be able to see what it looks like. But pretty much this here's the way I see it. I'll come back over here in a minute and go through a couple more small explanations of the way I see, or I'm hoping. And once I get over to the Horde, I'll cut to there because it's kind of a long, pointless fight to have to watch. But I'll cut it over to there, and then talk a little bit there, and then cut back. Okay, so the reason I came over here to the whole Horde area, because even though they have a port, their stuff is built a little bit more inland. Where, yep, they have small building up there, some stuff like that, small buildings there. Theirs is a little bit more built up, and so on and so forth. But since I'm Alliance, I can't spend much time here because these things will attack me. I believe there's ballistas and stuff, but Horde has their keep. Have that small building, a tower, their wall, which they said something. It'll probably end up looking something along the lines of this, you know, metal and spikes. And then there's another building, and then another small little tinker shop, which I would say, hey, that might be what your engineer building looks like, and so on and so forth. But I'll head back over to the Alliance real quick. Realized after I flew over here I have token things in my bag I could have just bought and flown and teleported back and forth really quick rather than having to fly over here, but whatever, we'll be back over at the Alliance base in just a second. Okay, so we're back here at the Alliance Landing, which is known as Lion's Landing, and you'll see that not all these Alliance guys here just look the same. I mean, Draenor kind of look the same as Draenor guys, but the dwarf looks different than Draenor. This guy looks different than that. The guards all look like guards. But there's a big difference in like some people. So this guy here is just a rifleman. He's a shield wall rifleman. Well, let's say with the garrisons, there's this whole ability to be able to recruit people to your town so that you have your own villagers type thing, right? So basically what it is saying is once a day or every so often per day or week or something like that, I don't think they haven't really gone into much detail over it, there'll be a new one of these guys just walking around your town, and you can go up to him, maybe do some sort of daily quest or some sort of small mission thing for him, like mini quest type thing, and he'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll join, I'll help you. You get him as your thing, and then much like the battle pets from what they were saying, you can change and alter the names of these guys to whatever you feel like it. So if you wanted to name this, say this dwarf, we wanted to name him Shorty, or Mr. Google Ghouls, or Mr. Yeah, who knows, whatever you want to call him, you can name him that, and that'll be his name. Well, say like you have, I think, I don't remember if I mentioned in my other video, but I'm pretty sure I did. I said some stuff, but say you built your blacksmith, like say okay, yeah, you have your blacksmith here, you know, your blacksmith forge, your anvil, and all this other blacksmith looking stuff. You built that. Well, say this guy has the ability to blacksmith. You could send him to work in the blacksmith. What he does, who knows yet at this point. I have a feeling that it's going to be along the lines of he can maybe do some sort of patterns for you. Or you have to give him materials to level up his blacksmithing so that he can do stuff for you, and so on and so forth. Or say same thing with like the jewel crafter. Hey, he's a jewel crafter. Or hey, I decided to build a mine. I could put him to work in the mine, and maybe so often throughout the day he'll be like, hey, I got 10 ore for you here if you want it, or hey, I got a full stack of ore for you if you want it, you know, stuff like that. The other thing is these guys, I believe, could also be recruited as basically heroes like yourself. where like this guy up here you see with the sword ready to fight, you could hire or recruit, say like a warrior, a hunter, a priest, a warlock, and a rogue. We'll say that. That makes a full instance team, right? You have your warrior, tank, priest, heals, and then lock, rogue, and mage DP or whatever that rogue DPS, whatever I said. You have those which you can then send on a mission. You give them certain, or maybe change out their abilities, or they have certain abilities which lets them, do the tank and stuff like that. I mean, they might not necessarily be the same classes. It might just be like, hey, this guy has tankish like abilities. He could be a tank. This guy has DPS ability, damaging abilities. He could be a DPS. And then, so on and so forth. Healing for healing abilities and stuff like that. And you could recruit these guys, and they didn't say how often you can do it, but it looked like there was a timer type thing. And like maybe once an hour you can send them to do a instance run for you. Just be like, hey, I don't feel like spending time to do this right now. Hey, go do this for me. And they'll go do it for you. They'll just take up, go do it. After an hour, they'll come back. They'll be available again. And there's a chance that they may or may not have loot for you. They haven't said a whole lot over all that. They did say that the instances, or you could send them on quests, instances in raids or battlegrounds raids and stuff. I don't remember everything. But pretty much from the gist of it, what I got out of it was if you send them on a dungeon run, you may get loot. If you send them on a raid run, you will get loot. What kind of loot? Will it be, raid style loot, or will it be looking for raid style loot? They didn't say. I mean, it's basically we're going to give you free gear, but you have to wait for it type thing. Instead of, hey, have free gear, it's, hey, maybe you'll have free gear. But at the same time, there's a possibility that you'll send, a full raid of 10 people to go do a raid, and because you didn't balance their abilities properly, they don't kill anything. They don't bring you back any loot. It's kind of got a micromanaging type feel to it, where you want loot, you're going to have to make sure you're micromanaging it properly. So if you need 2 tanks for this instance, you're going to make sure you want to have 2 tanks. If you have more than 2 tanks, or need more than 2 tanks, you're going to do it. Or tanks usually is always 2, so we'll use healers as an example actually, because some fights you really only need 2 healers, but are they good enough healers? Do you want to risk doing 2 healers and 6 DPS, or do you want to just do the 3 healers, 5 DPS, and to 2 tanks? Do you want to, which one do you want to risk, kind of thing? Kind of the way it seems like it is going. You kind of pick and choose who you send, and so on and so forth. On that note, though, there's also the level up process of these guys. Say you walk into your tavern and you're like, hey, there's somebody new here for me to recruit. Oh, he's a level 85. That means I'm going to have to send him on quests and stuff to get from level 85 all the way up until level 90 or level 100 or whatever it has to be. Or maybe it's possible that, hey, they're level 85. If I level 9 more guys, if I have 9 more people that are level 85, I could actually send them on a Dragon Soul run to try and get, a Dragon Soul loot, or maybe something. Who They haven't said a whole lot about how they're gonna work all that in. They might be able to do old raids. They might just be new raid stuff only. Who knows at this point? But from what it sounds like, it's gonna be awesome. I don't know if you'll be able to send them to do PvP type stuff, and here we got some weird frame rate issue. So yeah, but that's pretty much the way it looks like it's going for now. You're gonna be able to recruit people, send them out on jobs. It's gonna start out as basically a barren-ish type spot of land, maybe. Maybe just have a small little house or something on it, and you're like, hey, yeah, I want to purchase this. You purchase it, and then from there, you go out, you build up something, you do some quests and maybe some dailies or just weeklies or whatever, where you just got to go out and collect. Hopefully it's not something annoying like the patch 5.3, where you had to just go out and collect 150 wood, 140 stone, If it's something like that, hopefully it's a better paced thing, where it's kind of like each day you have to do like a certain amount, or each day they need something new, kind of like each time you do the quest in Shelazar Basin for making that brew type stuff. Each time you do it, it's always different. It's a different recipe each time. So hopefully they have a way to where it's like, say I need 30 stone because, hey, the wall needs to be built and we're going to work on the wall today, and I need 30 stone. Well, hopefully it's not everybody needs 30 stone that's on that day, because if everybody, then everybody's going to be going out to grab that stone, which means it's going to take a while. So hopefully it's kind of, if it's something like that, it's more of a, hey, you need 30 stone. Well, that guy's got a different quest. He needs 30 wood. He's going to start building up the outsides of his walls or his buildings or his battlements or, something of the sort. Fences. Wagons. Who knows? But it's going to be hopefully not too much micromanagement as far as that. I mean, the micromanagement as far as the controlling your villagers is going to be pretty awesome. I mean, you'll be able to go in, send them on raids, send them on quests, send them on instances. You'll be able to level them up, and they said something along the lines of, that they're thinking about allowing them access to like other professions. So like if you're a skinning jewel crafter for whatever reason, you wanted skinning because skinning can make a lot of money, then you wanted jewel crafting because you had a miner already. Well, say you wanted a miner in your village, you could get that miner who will go and do some extra mining for you so that you don't have to mine and then switch. Or say you're a jewel craft miner because you had mining for, getting your stone and stuff, your raw material that you prospect into jewels and gems for your jewel crafting. Well, say you have it on a plateware and you're like, well, it'd be awesome if I have a blacksmith to do some blacksmithing so that, he could blacksmith and stuff, and then maybe you hire a blacksmith into your town, or you recruit a blacksmith into your town, and now you can just go to him possibly, and maybe once in a while be like, hey, I have all the mats already, but I don't have the profession. Can you build this for me? And he's like, oh, yep, sure. Go ahead, give it to me. And you can kind of just trade mats for the gear. That seems like it'll make it a little bit too easy to get the gear and such, but at the same time, it's kind of making it a little bit easier for some players than, hey, I'm looking for blacksmith to build this for me, or trying to sell the mats on the auction house and then just buy the gear off the auction house or something like that, or you know, maybe you'll be able to just build the stuff yourself, or kind of just trade the mats for the gear, which will kind of ruin the economy to some extent, maybe. But to me, I don't buy stuff off the auction house anyway. I got one of each already, pretty, of each profession maxed out. If I need something, I just go to it. Except for jewels right now, because socketed jewels and the gems are so cheap that it's ridiculous. That it's like, oh, well, I need 5, or I just got a new chess piece. I need 3 agility gems. Well, I can go to my jewel crafter and make them, or I can just go spend 65 gold on each one, which honestly is not a lot. I got that times 20 already, just in, sitting here for an hour type thing. But it's going to be something along the lines of that. You'll probably also kind of, I believe they said it, you'll also have your farm put on to it, or you'll be able to build up a new farm onto it, so you don't have to come back to Half Hill Market or whatever every single time you want to, do some more farming, because they are probably going to keep the whole farming type thing that they have right now, the cooking type thing, where it's like, oh well, you need these mats, but you don't have to go out and farm these mats. I mean, you do, but you don't have to go out and kill 20 pigs to get 6 ribs to cook to make 3 rib sandwiches. It's going to be more of the whole, like it is now. It's like, oh well, you need vegetables and stuff. Well, you need vegetables and meat. So well, you go out and you collect the meat, but the vegetables you could actually get those yourself, or you could get these tokens and just buy the meat and stuff, which sometimes really isn't worth it. But I think that's about the only profession I haven't really leveled everything in. My fishing's not all the way up either, but I'm still working on that. But this is basically how I feel it's going to end up turning out. It's going to be, you're going to go in to this empty area of land for your garrison, where they already have these predetermined spots. You're going to start it. It's going to be basically a couple of small buildings, a couple of cheap looking stuff, kind of like you'd find in some of just is like the small cities or small towns, kind of like us, something more along the lines of the Torn Mill or South Shore, something small like that, maybe even smaller, where you're gonna go in to an area, you're gonna start it up. It's gonna look like that. You'll have your inn, which you will then add a mage tower or a barracks, or something like that, where you can then from there train people, do this, do that. You could recruit your people, and as you do that and such, your garrison will gain levels, and as it gains levels, or experience type things, as it gains experience, it will go from being a level 1 to a level 2, where questing will start to get a little bit more, hey, we need more of this, we need more of that, or if you're in your free time, you need more of this, more of that, or whatever. And then you go from there, you get a couple more plots of land to put these things on. I mean, the land where you could put each individual building is already pretty much set in stone. When you go into the map, it's already there. But you're going to be able to put any building there, kind of thing. There's going to be 3 different plot sizes. small, medium, large. You'll be able to put any medium building on any medium spot, any large building on any large spot, any small on any small spot. And from there, you'll pretty much just build. There's going to be 3 tiers, I believe they said, 3 levels to your garrison, where it'll go from kind of small, unprotected, to medium with like wooden walls and such, to, or maybe even walls slightly like this, to bigger, more extravagant walls, kind of like, but not nearly to the extent of the walls of Stormwind. You know, more of the hardcore alliance type walls rather than the small keep type walls. But they haven't said a whole lot of everything about this. We'll find out more in the beta. Hopefully I get into the beta so I could tell you more. But we'll find out more during the beta, during, pre-game release, and so on and so forth. I mean, after the game's released, everybody's going to be wanting to see, hey, what is Garrisons? This is, I honestly, is one thing I am really excited about for this next expansion. Is it's going to be something that's going to give you something to waste time on, that is going to actually benefit you a little bit more than, say, the farm did. I haven't touched my farm in probably a year or so. I got my tillers up to exalted on my hunter, and I have not touched it since then. So, I got it there as fast as I could. Once it was there, I got it to exalted. Once I got it to exalted, I stopped doing it because, like I said, I don't cook much, so I didn't see a reason to do it other than maybe the achievements, which I'm not really that hardcore into those achievements to have to or want to spend time doing them. But anyway, the way I see this whole thing going is going from what you saw earlier, the beach, to it going to something more along the lines of this, where it's going to go from a desolate looking beach to a more grand looking thing. I doubt it'll have all the little pigeons flying around, but you get kind of the point of it going from wasteland or useless land, whatever, however you want to say it, but going from pretty much useless land to building it up and seeing a pretty spectacular town. You will be able to go see your friends or guildmates or whoever's cities if you wish to as well. From what they said, the way it sounds like the way that's going to happen is if you are playing with them and they are in your party and you are the party leader, they will be able to come and visit your garrison. You will be able to see what people they have, what kind of setup they decided to set up with theirs, and so on and so forth. You'll be able to do the same thing as far as yours is concerned. If you want to show yours off to people, you will be able to go into it, make sure you're the party leader, go in, do this and that, and so on and so forth. I mean, one of the cool things about being able to show off your garrison is going to be that some of the raid and dungeons and stuff like that will give you special stuff that you can then add into your garrison, kind of like sculptures and statues and stuff of the sort. So you'll be able to, if you got a rare mount, be able to make a statue of it. So if you have, which I doubt many people even do, but if somebody has like the black battle tank thing from AQ, from way back when it came out, because since that's the rarest mount, because only so few people actually got it. I would consider it a legendary mount simply because so few people have it. But you'll be able to show it, be like, hey, I got this. This here's my pet or my mount. You might be able to do the same thing with pets and stuff like that. They haven't said much about it, but for you who want to show off anything that you might have had, you will be able to do so. And you will be able to just go through and be like, hey, I got this. I'm cool, right? Or you're just a nerd, which, honestly, we all play WoW. We're all nerds, right? Even if we don't want to admit it, we are nerds. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Well, anyways, that's my whole video for the Garrisons. You probably saw a couple weird cuts right there towards the end. I kind of forgot to clean off space on my hard drive before editing or before starting to capture, so I ended up with having a whole drive that was completely full of stuff and had to delete some old stuff in order to continue capturing the last little bit of this, but you know, it's what it is. This here is pretty much how I'm seeing how this garrison is going to work out, which for me is going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy it quite a bit. And I you know, like I said, if I get into the beta, I'll try and cover as much of it as I can, if I can, and so on and so forth. See you next time, I guess.